Okay, so we're going to start the panel discussion. I want to welcome everybody here today to the Cultural Entrepreneurship, Evolving Models of Sustainability versus Commercialization. My name is Ululy Rafael Martinez. I'm the Vice Chair of Operations for the National Puerto Rican Day Parade. With me, I have three panelists. Our first panelist is Margarita Espada, and she's with Teatro Yerbabruja, the annual Brentwood Puerto Rican Hispanic Day Parade, Brentwood, New York. And next we have Ana Maria from A Taste of Puerto Rico. Maria Arroyo from A Taste of Puerto Rico, Denver. And then we have Ana Valentín-Jackson, who is with the Puerto Rican Day Parade, Hartford, Connecticut. I want to first allow my panelists to introduce themselves and talk about their organization for a moment. And once we've all introduced ourselves, then we'll start the topic and the conversation about sustainability versus commercialization of our respective organizations. So at this time, I want to hand the mic over to Margarita Espada.
Sí, buenas tardes. Margarita Espada, I'm the founder and director of the Puerto Rican Hispanic Parade in Long Island, but also the founder of Teatro Yerbabruja in Puerto Rico and in Long Island, which is the only main Latino organization in Long Island. So basically, I'm Puerto Rican from Puerto Rico. I went to college there my whole life. So the parade came to my hand 5 years ago with a crisis. The parade was ready to collapse because the organization before was Adelante. There was no more possibility to sustain the parade, and that is a lot of conversation about that. It was a totally different board. There were no Puerto Rican people in the board, and the organization also expanded to do other programs. But very important to understand the Long Island, Puerto Rican, and now Hispanic parade is it's like a full connected with the national parade. It's a 50-year parade. We celebrate 50 years. It was incorporated in 1966. We have 50,000, it's a global audience, and over 3,000 people marching. This is a very big parade. It's a bigger parade after the New York City parade. You need to understand that Long Island was the place where the Puerto Rican can go and get a piece of land. We had the Perrin Hospital with all jobs and opportunity, plus you have a piece of land. So there was a lot of migration from the city, and also from Puerto Rico, because we have a lot of farm in Long Island. So with that in the context, the Puerto Rican population was very big at that time, and now it's the opposite with the new movement from the Puerto Rican now to Florida, and also with the new immigration with the Salvadoran community, Central American community. So a big changing, big challenge for us as a parade to say that. Basically, because I'm also an activist and a cultural organizer, when I saw the parade was all flat and was losing everything, for me it was very important to put together our root. And because I'm from Puerto Rico, for me, my experience as a Puerto Rican from the island to organize a parade was an interesting experience, because parade had totally a different significance for me, because I don't need to have a parade. We have something different. So to understand the diaspora, to understand and become the diaspora now after 20 years here, so I really put the parade together, and because I'm a theater producer, to try to have the art and the cultural aspect back to the front of the conversation, more than being a parade focused only to try to get a sponsorship.
Next I want Maria Arroyo to discuss her organization.
Hi, my name is Maria Arroyo. I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in New York, and I've lived in Colorado now for about 24 years. My event is called the Taste of Puerto Rico Festival. We started it we're going to be celebrating our 12th one this coming year. And it started with a small group of people of about 350 back in, it was like 1997 or something like that, by another organization. And it was just us getting together with barbecue grills, radios, and just finding a park that would just hang out and things like that. So it's grown since then. We took it over, my organization took it over to 2006. And since then, it's just two of us that actually put this event together. We both volunteer. We have volunteers every year. People come out and say, okay, we're gonna help. but it always ends up being just two people, me, the vice president, and the president of the organization. And so far, we've sustained it just basically because we've kept it, as far as committee people, it's been kept very, very small. Because like I said, a lot of people want to volunteer, but when it comes time to step up and help, it always ends up being just the two of us. So we wanted to bring our culture and our heritage to Denver because it's only about maybe 23,000 Puerto Ricans in Colorado, mainly through the military base in Colorado Springs. And also, this year, this is our third year that we're doing it in Civic Center Park, which is us graduating from a local little park to like the big city of Denver's festival park. So we've grown a lot in the last 12 years. Other than that, we're very proud of our little events. We probably have about 10,000 people that come to our event, not just Puerto Ricans, but a lot of different communities throughout Denver. So far, they've welcomed us to this park. The last park we were in, they didn't like us very much there. Maybe because we were too loud and we celebrate too hard. And so I think it's called Stapleton Central Park, and it was designed for a festival. We were the first festival invited there. And let's just say we were not invited back after that. So, yeah.
So next, I'd like Anna Valentín-Jackson from the Hartford Parade to just talk about her organization.
Great, thank you. Anna Valentín-Jackson with the Hartford Connecticut Institute for Community Development, Hartford Puerto Rican Parade. We have the longest organization name in the state. I have been with the organization for about 2 years now. Came in as a volunteer to help with the festival. We have both a festival and the parade, which is just prior to the festival on the same day. We have about 10 people serving on our board right now. This is my second year. Like I said, the first year I was working as a volunteer behind the stage with the festival and behind just doing the logistics. And then now this year I had the pleasure of working with our president to do the coordination of all the logistics with the city of Hartford and all the city head departments, city department heads to get the parade going. So we have about 53 years history in the Greater Hartford region as far as the parade goes. We are going through a period right now where we're trying to see how we continue to stay relevant in the community. There are challenges, just like I'm hearing everybody else sharing about their challenges, but there are also opportunities, and that's what we're trying to look as we continue going with the organization. We do have an attendance of about 50,000 people who come out, anywhere from Springfield, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Providence, Bridgeport, New York, Danbury. So we get a lot of people to come into the city on that one day. So that makes it a logistical challenge to try to keep all the groups moving and participating. And this year alone, we counted close to 2,800 people participating just in the parade. You would think that we're in New York City. It's not a large city. So there are challenges and opportunities, and we're looking forward to learning from others who are here today and sharing what those things are to make our parade to continue to serve the community where we are.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we want to first now start the conversation about sustainability and commercialization of our respective organizations. At a time when we have many Puerto Ricanos coming to the United States, many of them come to our cultural institutions for information, for guidance, and it's important that the cultural institutions throughout the United States continue to persevere. So what we want to talk a little bit about for each of our respective organizations is just kind of tell you about what we do to sustain our organizations so that they could continue and succeed beyond the time that we're there as its leaders. So with regard to the National Puerto Rican Day Parade, I've been on the newly constituted board for 3 years now. When we came onto the board, there was no history of a parade. There was no manual on how to operate a parade. There were no resources, no money in the bank. We had no office. So we really had to start. After 56 years of the existence of the parade, we literally had to start from scratch to build out the infrastructure because we wanted it to succeed. We wanted it to continue to persevere, to sustain itself. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did to put together that infrastructure. So as a parade, the National Puerto Rican Day Parade is a not-for-profit organization. So the first thing we did was focus on the institutional development of the organization. We worked on our bylaws to make sure that our bylaws and the way that we constituted the board conforms with the Not-for-Profit Revitalization Act, so that we're operating as a legal entity, as a not-for-profit organization pursuant to the laws of the not-for-profit law. So we did that in collaboration with many people. We reached out to firms that could help sponsor us so that they can help us navigate the not-for-profit law so that we can put those bylaws together and make sure that they're in compliance with New York law. Once we put that institutional structure together, that framework, then we focused on the events that we do. Now, we do a few events. We have a scholarship program. We have a cultural enrichment kind of event that we do in collaboration with Central. We have the parade itself, and then we have a festival that we do on a separate day. So when we talk about sustainability, it's not just simply for us. It's not just simply economic sustainability so that we could continue as an organization, but it's also cultural sustainability. So our way of dealing or addressing the cultural sustainability aspect of the organization was to focus on our scholarship fund, because our youth is the next generation. These are the youth that we want to cultivate to take over this organization eventually, and also help them along their educational path so that they can succeed individually in their professions. So we work to establish the scholarship fund. The scholarship fund, we raise money in different ways, right? We raise money through Radio Bemba, reaching out to individuals that have a consciousness and see the value and the importance of empowering our young people. We reach out to them for contributions. We also reach out to organizations. We like to start with our organizations, our Puerto Rican organizations, companies, businesses, people that have firms, professionals. You start with our community and get them engaged and invested in the idea of empowering our young people. So that's generally what we do in terms of fundraising for our scholarship fund. But then in addition to that, we also think it's important that we learned early on that many of the scholars, the Puerto Rican students that are applying for scholarships, many of them don't understand or don't know our history and our culture. And we found that to be very disappointing because they're not getting that in their traditional education. So as an organization, we decided to work on a cultural enrichment day so that our scholarships in our program can come and learn about from people with different expertise and professions, people that know the Puerto Rican history and culture and activism. They come to learn from these panelists about their history and their culture. So not only are we helping them with scholarships, but we're helping them with cultural context about Puerto Rican history and culture so that they understand what it's all connected to. And it also inspires them to be a part of the organization, to engage the organization, to become a partner in the organization. The next component is volunteers. Since we're an organization of limited resources, we really depend on volunteers to help us with all our events, the scholarship program, the festival, and the parade itself. Now, what we've done as a board is we identify board members depending on what the needs of the organization is, right? So we're a board, right? But we don't want to just invite a friend to be on the board. We want to invite people onto the board that have specific expertise that we need as an organization. So, for example, we have a union member on our board that has access to huge union leadership of many Puerto Ricans and a huge history of Puerto Ricans that have engaged in struggles throughout the years. So we brought on board members that have connections to organizations, volunteer membership types of organizations. And it's been an amazing thing for a value and benefit to our organization. Because now we have access and ties to 150 volunteers that we didn't have ties to before. You know, we can't afford to pay 100 volunteers. But now we have people that have those direct relationships with these membership organizations that can ask them if they'd be interested in volunteering for the parade. And we find that when people are asked, generally they want to be helpful to the Puerto Rican organization that they've participated in over the years. So that's another way we've been able to sustain the organization, by identifying people that can help us coordinate volunteers. And those volunteers have helped the organization tremendously. So that's a very important component that I really encourage people in your organizations to do. Really identify board members that are going to address the needs of your organization. The other component of the work we do, or the other way that we sustain ourselves, is by participation fees. So we have approximately 25,000 people that participate in the parade itself. So with this participation, we have to put together an application process. We have to give people wristbands. We have to give people permits for their vehicles to participate in the parade. We have to have conversations that take time. So in order to subsidize that infrastructure, we have to charge fees. But what we did was we created a scaled fee system. We have a scaled fee system where corporations pay one amount, unions pay another amount, not-for-profits organizations pay another amount, and our fee system goes from $500 all the way down to $50. Because we want to be able to make sure that all of the voices of the Puerto Rican community are heard, and this parade is accessible to everybody. So for $50, you can actually, a non-incorporated group of people can come together and participate in this parade. You get 50 wristbands for your contingent fee. And if you think about it, that's like $1 per person. You know what I mean? And we make sure that that local domino club, that's not an organization, it's an association, people get together, they can participate if they want to participate. So our fees help sustain like the infrastructure for the parade itself. And also there's fees associated with vehicles in the parade, with floats in the parade. And many times people think that we have like a float operation in the parade. We don't have a float operation. We have to engage outside vendors and negotiate a contract with them, try to get the best deal that we can get on a bulk rate. And then we offer a scaled system even for like our community, right? Because we essentially give we extend a pueblo price for pueblos that participated in the parade. It's pretty much at cost for the float price, and then businesses, corporations, they pay more for floats. So again, that's the way we sustain ourselves through these fees for the floats and through the application process. And then in addition to that, we also put together sponsorship packages, right? Because we have many events. So we have the education event, we have the festival, and we have the parade. So we even have a golf tournament now that we did for the first time last year. And so what we do is for sponsors, for corporations, we put together a package at different levels so that we can engage corporations about the parade and so that we can like promote them in each of our events. We find that our biggest sources of income and resources is the corporate contributions. And so we put together a package like this. Our packages, all our information is available on our website, from the applications to the scholarship fund, from the applications to participate in the parade, to our sponsorship packages. Like, it's all on our website, so your organizations can look at everything we do, because we do it transparent so that all organizations out there can adopt whatever practices they think would be helpful to their organizations. So that's some of like what the National Puerto Rican Day Parade does, and I want to give opportunity for each of the panelists, because we not only have here not-for-profit organizations, we have for-profit entities, so they also have different ways of sustaining their organizations, and we want to take opportunity to have each one of them speak at this time. So Margarita.
Yeah, it's perfect because, as I told you before, our pioneers in Long Island just took this as a model. We do the same, basically, the same package application, kind of the same because they use you guys in the 1960 and all this time to create that festival. The difference is like we don't get the sponsor, like because the population is changing. And so my story is I got a phone call one day because I have Teatro Yerbabruja. And you know, Yerbabruja is a plant in Puerto Rico that grow in any circumstances. And our poeta nacional Juan Antonio Correa la usa como símbolo de resistencia. So we create that organization. I used to have a theater in Puerto Rico for 10 years. So I did, ¿qué pasó? Que no hay nada latino acá en Long Island. So I was, a professor there for Stony Brook University, so let's organize. So I was doing my own thing con el teatro, con la cultura, y la parada would just crash. So they just called me, hey Margarita, you are the only one, because tú eres puertorriqueña de Puerto Rico, like, no idea about parades. So lo que hice fue que just called the people, the Puerto Rican, they were no longer at the board, or the people that was already out of the Adelante organization, that we just dropped the parade last minute because a lot of political tension. So the committee had no time to organize. So we run the parade the first Sunday in June, and the National Parade the second Sunday, just because it was created together, to sustain each other. All the population is changing, so it's very difficult for us to sustain. We are not for profit. We have a strong board, small board, or based on volunteers. But we have a lawyer. All the aspects of the 501 and not-for-profit was in place. So there was all the politicians and the community and the business people thought that our organization was a good organization to sustain the parade. But that became a program in our organization, and basically sometimes taking over our program in terms of funding. And there was a big fight because they wanted to change the name of the parade, like horrible fight that we know how it is. Because there was a community meeting, they called all the leaders of the Latino communities, and they just dropped the word is no longer a Puerto Rican parade, it's a Hispanic parade. So there was a big screaming, fighting, and our official elected that we had at that time, 2 Puerto Rican officials elected with a lot of power. They was very strong, and I was, by then, I always say, well, I'm not from here, which I'm 20 years in Long Island, but I play that, but this is our pioneers. How you can erase our history of Long Island, where there are the people that opening all the programs. So they need to be the Puerto Ricans. So there was a negotiation, Puerto Rican Hispanic parade, but it's a lot of resistance. A lot of what we're marching. So I make a strong effort talking about sustaining the parade. It's about to sustain a community that is pioneer, is opening the door. We create this thing, honoring the pioneer the first year, opening the door for our brothers and sisters. So, I'm very creative. We try to create this civic dialogue in our community. So the parade really is a civic conversation in Long Island, especially we just push back for the Latino community, for the Puerto Rican community, and all the new immigrants, especially Central American, undocumented. So we have a lot of social issues there. With that, the politician and the town or the infrastructure, remember Long Island is one of the most segregated places in US, I think the 3rd. So they took an opportunity, perfect. They have an issue, they shut down all the permits. So to sustain the parade means to fight just to get back the permits, to negotiate with the police, with police safety. They made us to apply, and we need to put together New York State permit like the Macy's parade, because we have 50,000 people. So they're doing everything, but one more time, because volunteers and our lawyers, people just, let's do it, and we found a way. And so far now, we are already, they trust us because I was a new organization. With that other aspect to sustain the parade and keep the mission and the vision and not become a political platform, which is a very difficult, is to be sure that the mission and the vision is clear, is very specific with our rules, and Obviously, you are an official elected, you have the right and opportunity and the responsibility to support the parade, but at the same time, it's not a platform for campaigning specifically, but we really support like social justice, people that are really working to enhance the community. But it's been very, very difficult, and we pay that. So I was so strong with that, and sadly, like being part of this, the whole day conversation, sometimes our own people, they cut all our funding as a punishment because there was no like political campaigning. So we are now trying to recreate and reimagine and create new ideas. We have an art center, so we plan a disco party. We also incorporate a festival, a Plaza Cultura festival with lechon a la varita, and we have a conversation about the Puerto Rican in Long Island, so to try to create this awareness, and also downtown revitalization, another way that we sustain, and economic development, especially for the Latino community. So we bring money that day. You have 50,000 people, Fifth Avenue in Brentwood, and it's the whole, from Hempstead to Riverhead, the whole island is doing something. So in terms of marketing, maybe we don't have the Puerto Rican, which is mixed, but we have people from Florida coming back, but it's a strong trademark. So everyone is moving. So with that, we got some public funding for economic development, and it's the same like a national parade. We got some feed and some sponsorship, but we're struggling. We are really managing to survive. It's very good. People have great time. It's pack to pack, but at the end of the day, we are very tight. Still almost losing money. We just all there, and we just like reimagining and brainstorming the way that we can really sustain in the long term.
Thank you.
Well, my event, by you guys' standards, is pretty small. I remember how I joined it. I was looking around. Somebody had told me, "Oh, there's a Puerto Rican festival in Colorado," and I'm like, "Okay, let me find out about it." And I called the organizer and I said, "Hey, I found out that you put on a festival." He goes, "Yeah, we did it yesterday." So I had missed it by a day. So I told him, I said, "Well, I want to be involved. What can I do?" So we kept in touch over the year. In the beginning, pretty much, he literally just went to the city of Denver and said, "Here, I want to put on a festival. What do I do? Pay for the park?" We just started it. Everybody started coming. In Colorado, pretty much the second Sunday in June, they know there's something Puerto Rican based in Colorado, but we were hopping to so many places that you just never knew where we were going to have it at. You just knew that second Sunday something was going to happen. Finally, we started getting more noticed, and we found a park that we were for a couple of years. So now, like I said, we're the main park now in Denver where we do this, and it's just basically two of us. We don't have a committee. Not that we didn't try to build one, but not everybody's always into it. They're very excited in the very beginning. They're very excited on the day of the event. You can get a lot of people to sign up on that day, but when you ask them, "Okay, we're going to start our meetings for next year's event," crickets pretty much, and it's just the two of us. So we look at each other. We thank all the volunteers that do help us for that year, but then after that, again, just the two of us are the ones that end up putting this on. So we promote it a lot. Like I said, everybody knows there's something happening. We go out to Colorado Springs, which is a large Puerto Rican population. I'm from Aurora. We hold the event in Denver, and we usually go to the military base. We promote it there. We put ads in the paper. We don't have sponsorship per se as far as them giving us money, but we do a lot of bartering. We go back and forth and we trade events. One of our biggest sponsors is Telemundo in Denver, and what we do with them, we give them 4 of our vendor spaces, and then they take 2 of them for themselves, and then they sell the other 2. And in return, we get commercial time. So we have one of our friends that actually creates our commercials, and Telemundo plays it. And that's how we barter back and forth. The same thing with some of the papers. We promote some of the businesses. We go knocking pretty much door to door to try to keep our event going. I don't know how we do it, to be totally honest. I'm always amazed every year. I consider it a good headache. The day it becomes a bad headache, I always say, I'm gonna quit. But then I'm quitting every single year. It's like a marriage. Me and my partner, we're married to this, and every year I'm like, I'm gonna quit. But one of the main things that he does, I was a vendor, my husband was a vendor, and he's a vendor. And what we do is we don't let any other vendor sell things like water or anything, it sounds so cruel, but because we sell it, because we want to get that money, that extra money, because at the end of the day, I'm in charge of all the musicians and the bands, and I have to pay them at the end of the day. So the money he makes at his booth, the money my husband makes at that booth, that's what pays for my musicians every single time. But the good thing over the years that has happened is a lot of our groups and our bands have taken a cut in their salary, and we also get a lot of what they want exposure bands that are very local, salsa bands, merengue bands, that are just want the exposure. So I usually try to gravitate towards them because I don't have to pay them. Versus some of our bigger groups that are local, they've cut their pay, their rate of pay practically almost in half just because they want to participate in the event. We have like about 10,000 participants that I think that are there, the last count that we have. And like I said, they're not all Puerto Ricans. A lot of them are just from around Denver. We've had people come up from New Mexico, from Arizona, from Nebraska that actually drive up and make it a weekend. We used to do it over 2 days, but that got to be too much for just two of us. So we've cut it down to just having it the second Sunday. And that seems to work a lot better because we can focus really on that one day from the very beginning to the end. My favorite part of the whole thing is watching mi gente getting together. It's a beautiful thing when you see this, but they don't realize the headaches and the fires we'd be putting out in the back. It's just, to them, it's just, oh my God, we have to do this every year, which we do, but it comes at a price. I mean, usually, like she was saying, we need IV by the end of the event because you're so exhausted. And I don't know how we do it, especially the first couple of weeks going up to it, because we'll start doing our meetings in January. I finally, one of the things I finally got was Goja to even acknowledge that we existed. I've been talking to them every year, sending them a little sponsorship packet, a little proposal letter, nothing. So last year was the first year that I heard from them, but I guess I applied too late, just in time for them to give me the contact for the Midwest. And she contacted me and said, well, do it a little bit earlier and we'll try to see if we can help you. So I'm hoping that Goja will hopefully sponsor us this year to keep us going. So as far as sustaining it, it's just blood, sweat, and tears pretty much that keeps us going because we don't get paid for this. The last count we had out of pocket was about $15,000, and that's probably not a lot by the big standards of some of the big ones, but that's out of pocket that we put in that money. It doesn't come from, anywhere else. And we literally have a big container that we pass around at the festival asking for money. Hey, you want a gift, for next year? And, we get some money, but mostly it's just a lot of hard work, putting ourselves out there, maybe getting more recognition from some bigger companies around Colorado. Some of like I said, the Denver Post is now actually looking at us and some other little Latino newspapers and some of the other channels, and we actually were able to get on some of the major networks and talk about our event. I sent out some press release. Surprisingly, we got about 4 of the networks, the main networks in Colorado, to talk about our event. Some of them were there. So this year we got a lot of publicity. So I'm really hoping that that's going to help to sustain us for this coming year. So, yeah.
All right, I want to get Ana Valentín in here.
Great. So we do some of the things that you are doing because we have the festival and the parade. We separate the two in how we go about securing funding. It is just like everybody else, very, very difficult and a lot of work. What I've learned in the last 2 years is that because they have over the last, the 50 some years of the parade being around, the leadership has turned over and turned over and turned over. And as people leave, what happens? They take all that knowledge with them and you have to restart again and start reaching out to contacts. And of course they get the question of, oh, so what happened to Maria? She was the one I've been working for the last 3 years. And they're like, well, we have to get into the long drawn explanation about what's going on. So many of the sponsors who had been with us many years before have kind of fallen by the wayside, but then at the same time other sponsors have come in to help. Now I want to backtrack a little bit because what I failed to tell you earlier is that I come from a nonprofit background, so I have about 20 years of experience of seeing how functioning nonprofits actually work. And so I'm not saying that the Hartford Parade doesn't function, they just function in a very different format to itself. So coming in from a grant writing, fundraising, fund development, event planning, background and communications, I'm looking at, okay, so how can we make this a lot less painful than it is, because we all go through the same thing of, we start meeting in January, Actually, we start meeting the week immediately after the parade and the festival, kind of figure out, okay, what went wrong, what went right, where can we fix things up a little bit, and how can we get ahead of the ball game? Because I don't know if this happens to you, but we get the, oh my God, you just missed the deadline for like 2 days or a week or a month, or the next cycle doesn't start again until, January, because our budget starts, in June, or your budget doesn't align to ours. So it's, like I said, going back to looking at people who have been gone or who have left, and then figuring out, okay, what did they do, who did they contact, when are those deadlines happening, and looking at the model from, again, a nonprofit entrepreneurial and sustainability point of view, and saying, okay, how do we make it work? For the parade, we do have sponsors that we kind of line up and say, okay, so if you sponsor the festival, we'll give you so many bracelets so that your company can also march in the parade. If you sponsor only the parade, then you're not allowed to have a booth at the festival. So it's kind of, we have to play a little bit with what they have to offer, because sometimes sponsors do come in saying, well, we'll give you $1,000, but we want to have 3 people marching in the parade. And we're going, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So we have to kind of play being the steward of that $1,000. How can we make it happen? Because sometimes it's easier to let go of that $1,000 and then go somewhere else and try to find it where you won't have to barter so much. We have application packages, again, the same thing as other parades do. We have a sliding scale where we don't charge the public schools anything to bring in their schools or cultural groups. There is a fee that goes, from 0 to, I think the highest is like 1,000 or 2,000. It's nothing big. If they want a float, then we connect them to the New York parade or to Bridgeport so that they connect and figure out how to get a float. And then we also have the vendors. At the festival, we have a person who's been working with us for the last 5 or 6 years, who manages basically anyone who wants to bring their artesanías or their chucherias, the moños, the t-shirts, whatever it is that they want to bring. She deals with that part, and of course she gets part of that commission, so to speak, so that she does all of that managing the day off. She comes in and works with all the food vendors, so all the food trucks. She works with the state and the city health department to make sure that the fire marshal comes in, make sure that the food department inspectors come in. So she handles all of that. So she really earns her money. But when she works with any of the sponsors that don't necessarily have food or merchandise, then that funding goes to us. So it's really nice to have someone who's been doing this for a while. As far as grants, we're now looking at that model. How can we go to the foundations in the community? We are the backyard of the insurance company, so we have Aetna, the Hartford, Mass Mutual. All of them are right here in Hartford, right there in Hartford. So for us not to have a collaboration with them is basically leaving money on the table. And I think that's pretty much what's happening. We also have bills that we have to pay, so we have to pay our artists. I'd like to see in the future that we have enough money that we can say, okay, we'll pay you the full rate that you're bringing in. I'm very much, if you're an artist or a painter or an artisan, I'm very much against not paying a person for his or her work, and it's very unfair for us to ask them to do things as a favor. If you're an emerging person and you just started in the field, a year or two, you don't have it right in your pocket, that's different. But if you've been around for 30, 40, 20 years doing your art, doing your music, doing whatever it is that you're doing, you deserve to get paid. And I've been on that track for the last few weeks. Because then at the other end, it happens that you end up with a crappy festival. And for me, it's very important that what we offer to the community that day, it's something of quality. This year, however, we are going through some of the challenges that you're going through. The city of Hartford itself, it's in a very dire economic situation, and so we have been very, very fortunate that for many years, the former mayors, because there were Puerto Ricans, they would allocate funding or, waive many of the fees that were anywhere between $500 to $150,000. So this year, the new mayor coming in is not really interested about having 50,000 people in Bushnell Park in Hartford one day, plus paying for all the cops. We have well over 150 cops who come out that day who have to get paid overtime. They don't want to pay for that. So we're kind of trying to figure it out, how do we do that? Because next year is going to be a very different story. So we've decided to, at least for 2017, put a halt to the parade because we really don't have $150,000 to pay for public works, the fire department. That's just those fees. I'm not even talking about paying the musicians or the bands or anyone or anything else. We're just trying to secure that funding. For us is really important this year to figure out where we're going, how do we get that money so that in 2018 we're not just a memory in our community. There was something else I wanted, it just kind of flew by my head. It escaped me. There was something else I wanted to add and it totally escaped me.
I just want to just kind of touch on a few of the points that the panelists made. In terms of do not underestimate the power of bartering. I've learned that there's so many corporations that would be interested in just exposure at our events because the amount of people that come to our events, and but you have to initiate those conversations with these corporations. And a recent example was last year for our festival. I reached out to Häagen-Dazs, and Häagen-Dazs had a history. It turns out that they had a history of participating in different festivals, and but I told them what we charged the vendors for the festival, and then they then proceeded to negotiate, and they wanted to offer a barter. They didn't want to pay the fee for the festival. They wanted to just be able to provide their samples, and then I was like, okay, well, we have approximately 30,000 people that participated in the festival, and what is it that you would be bartering? What is it that you're offering? And turns out they were offering like 15,000 samples of Häagen-Dazs, the small samples of Häagen-Dazs. We charge vendors at this festival like $500. So it made sense, that barter, for them to just come in for free and to give out their things, and our community is getting ice cream for free on a very hot day, and it worked out for both of us. They promote their brand, and our people get Häagen-Dazs that day, and it helps. Like, the fact that we had Häagen-Dazs there then helps us in terms of our marketing, so that we can tell other corporations, look, we had Häagen-Dazs there, we had Coca-Cola there, we had Goya there. So it helps, and it helps create that snowball effect and helps you get other additional sponsors.
I wanted to respond because it's a very important, beyond sponsor, not having the permits, having the police and the fire department blocking you. So that's about basically sustainability 101. So there's no parade without a permit. So the further we start dropping and getting so stressed out is to have this permit, at least the application there. So when that happened to us, which was the first year that I got the parade 5 years ago, so I had the negotiation because it will go over time. We're talking about all these police, they have because 50,000 people, they bring people from all over the island. So the question was why they needed to support us for all these police on the Sunday for one day festival. And we're like, wait, what about you had the Memorial Day parade? You had the whole island with the Memorial Day parade the same day, so let's count number. But we did put together a big advocate group. They have history in the community, and I went into this, police meeting with all the time, and all these people that wanted to intimidate me. Obviously, we went with my board, the lawyers, I had the whole advocacy group, and I was very strong about it. You are canceling the parade, so let's do this public. So I will make a press conference, and we have the support of the media, not only the Latino media, but all the channels too. And say, I'll go public, and I did my pushing. I was no I was not negotiating neither. They wanted to cut the route of the price of 3 miles, and I said, I want my people to march for the same place for 50 years, and that's not changing. I don't want to negotiate that, and if you don't want to give us the permits, I go public and I go press conference and just, okay, and we had that, they have this public conversation, and they changed. In 1 hour, they was calling me back and and we want to support. So sometimes we need to go there and organizing one-on-one and advocacy and think about it. That is, for me, it's the history of my people. I grew up in Puerto Rico. I'm here, 20 years, but I respect also what they're doing here. So I go from be nice and to be, let's go. Okay, just if you want to kill us, let's do the full fight. Okay, I'm done. So that take organizing, and that was now is different because they knew they maybe we don't have the organization was like not strong enough, but the people was there, and the lawyers, the politician, everyone came together and really pushed that for the non-Latino community. So that worked for me.
One thing I also want to mention, and it's tied into this conversation, which is we've had the same kind of conversations with New York City, and we have to go to multiple agencies for permits as well. But what I found to be very helpful in those conversations with these city agencies and these public officials is we track every statistic for our organization events. When I say that, like the social media that it generates on Twitter, on Facebook, we track the amount of vendors that participate, the amount of people that participate. We also track, we give estimates on the amount of money the festivals and the parades generate in terms of local business. Because when we do a festival in an area, all the stores in that area benefit from our festival too, because our people are buying products in each of those businesses as well. So like we make sure that the city is aware of just the business that it generates for the city having our large events. And I find that letting them know these things and reminding them of these things is valuable. And like Margarita said about organizing, like if there's ever any concern, like organizing politically is valuable. The power of press is valuable. And we have that access, we have those resources. And if you need to take it there, then you should. But I find like all those businesses, those are allies too. We don't think of them as our allies. They're not Puerto Rican businesses, but they're benefiting from our festivals. And they also want our festival to continue in that community because it generates a lot of income for those stores. So making sure like those businesses are engaged in the conversations and acting as third-party supporters for any kind of questions about whether parades or the festivals should continue. So,
well, we had a very interesting change of administration within the city when the former mayor left and the new mayor came in, where all of it was not just the Puerto Rican parade. So I want to make clear that we were not targeted as a group that, we have in March we have the St. Patrick's Day parade, we have a Memorial Day parade, we have the Hartford Puerto Rican parade, then comes the Tom Hooker parade, which they just called us that they want us to help figure things out, and we're like, well, we are trying to figure things out ourselves. We have the Veterans Day parade, which is huge also now in November. So we have Winterfest and First Night Hartford, which happens now around the holidays. So we are a very event-heavy small city, and so when the mayor is looking and the council are looking at, where is the money going, where is everything allocated, and of course everything that we're racking up is cost on how much we pay the police to be at all of these events, then it becomes, okay, do we really need to be paying this much overtime? And by the way, the former mayor has been kind of waiving all these fees for all of these parades, so everybody got the cut. So Winterfest, which is one of our bigger events in Hartford, which provides a free ice skating rink right in the center of the city where, Puerto Ricans, African Americans, whites, everybody comes in and enjoys it throughout, because it goes past the Three Kings Day weekend. They got slashed down, and that was $200,000, and they galvanized everybody in the community and said, no, we need to have Winterfest because it's been happening for 15 years. And they raised $200,000 like back, and it was like boom, 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 Travelers, the Hartford, everybody was giving money, Aetna, Connecticut, all of these insurance companies, because they do have a very strong board. And I think it goes back to the comment that Lorraine was saying earlier. We have to really bring in a board that is not necessarily event planners, but they're strategic thinkers. And so that's what they have. They have a really good, strong board. And so that's where we're trying to get to the point of, let's get our board activated to be thinking in that strategic mindset, while we still roll the sleeves up and do the work that we have to do. Now, going back to your bartering statement, we do, thank God we have a really good communication with our media, the newspapers, the radio stations, so they kind of barter with us. Telemundo, Univision, the typical, culprits, they help us get things going and done. But we also try to play good stewards. For example, this year, Goya had not sponsored us in many years, and this year they wanted to do more than just give us a check. So what we did, we partnered with Catholic Charities in Hartford, and we distributed a message that Goya was gonna bring 5,000 pounds of food to be distributed to the community. So trajeron habichuelas, arroz, sopa en caja, sopa en lata. It was like we had Goya products coming out of our ears. And so it was nice because, of course, it gave them the PR that they wanted and the exposure that they wanted as supporters. And it just worked out perfectly because then, of course, they came out and gave us a check, and they had a booth at the event. And we also had reestablished that relationship with them, which is what we have to go back to do. The other thing that we did, sorry.
If we could I just want to
Slow
make sure
down.
we get time for the audience. We only have a few minutes left, and I want to open up to the audience for any questions. But I don't want, I let you finish your thought, but after we could just.
No, the only other thing that we did was that we partnered with the Hispanic Federation and got a lot of exposure through all the other festivals in Connecticut, so Bridgeport, New Haven, Meriden, New Britain, all of them. So we all kind of went to each other's festivals to help out with voter registration.
So at this time, I wanted to open up to the audience with any questions. Edwin has a question.
Just a quick one. We're running out of time, unfortunately. But I just want to ask you if you have at least a minute response. Social media is so important in at least three dimensions, the marketing, outreach, and all that. Second, engagement, organizing, and a way to organize the support that you need before and other people. And thirdly, for fundraising potential. I'm not sure how many of us actually do any one of those three, let alone how well we do all of those three. But if you can speak very briefly in terms of your experience, what has been the impact of moving up to, digital platforms to support the parade? Appreciate it.
Well, that's,
You hear me? That's very good.
yeah, but basically that's what saved us. Social media, Facebook, you name it, or that. And in exchange, and then you also creating this video clip is really helping a lot because the people wanted to be engaged and more visual stuff. It's no more the writing stuff. People just want visual short. So definitely, and also helping us to organize also marchers and sponsor. Yes.
So on the social media front, we have a very robust Facebook and Twitter page. I mean, it's important with social media that if you have a social media and Facebook page that you dedicate somebody to actually providing content every day, because we get emails from many different organizations about events that they're doing, but you have to have someone dedicated to really getting that information out and also track the metrics associated with Facebook and your Twitters and it helps because corporations now, this is about advertising is moving in the direction of over-the-top providers, internet service providers. So they're looking and they're asking corporations, potential sponsors about the metrics about how many people visit your site, how much content do you have, how often do you refresh that content. So you really, like, that's really where the trend is going in terms of like corporate sponsorship and visibility on these social media platforms. So it's something that I definitely encourage people to spend some time with.
And one of the things, like, my son is the one who started doing our Facebook page because, like I said, it's only two of us and we don't always get a lot of people to help us support what we're trying to do. So my son said, well, we probably need to start this. So I have him taking a look at it, and every time something comes up, he's like, hey, Mom, you need to answer this, this message, or you need to post this and things like that. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to get more people that actually will be able to be more dedicated to our Facebook and Twitter accounts.
And with us, social media is a full job. Sammy does a really good job. We have a number of administrators going, but here's the one thing we that's coming out of our board meetings is that somebody suggested that we have about 4,800 followers. If we do a campaign where we can ask people to donate $2, that's close to $10,000 in like just social media engagement with the individuals who are following us. $2, you spend on coffee at Dunkin' Donuts is more than $2. So if we can use that, that's a great suggestion to just invite people to donate through our platforms.
Yeah, we did something similar. It was like dale $1 for the scholarship fund, and we were able to raise some money. So it's definitely a resource to raise money.
There's so much I can say because I have a lot of emotion about the issues of Puerto Rico and what's occurring. So part of me in terms of expressing that. And right now, my name is Elizabeth Abraham, and I tell people I'm from the pueblo de Guayama, Yerbabruja, y positiva, y me gusta acción. Y una cosa que yo presenté anteriormente, que hablaste con la señorita Cortés, hace como 15 minutos, me dio un momento de silencio. Y cuando presenta silencio, es una cuestión, ¿qué tiene que ser silencio? ¿Por qué tiene que estar silencio para los de Puerto Rico? Porque, bueno, una parte de lo que está pasando dramáticamente en Puerto Rico es el momento de silencio. Un momento de silencio no justify lo que hizo anterior. Puede también, te puede representar también la comunidad latina nos está observando a nosotros. ¿Qué hicieron Puerto Rico? Somos los primeros que estamos aquí, vieron una puerta, nos preguntaron, lo ocurrieron. ¿Okay? Y también otro idea también que tenemos una canción que dice preciosa. Y quería presentar un momento de silencio en en cada estado de los Estados Unidos y presentar este caso de ustedes. A ver si puede hacer un momento de promesa, de silencio. Y otro diferente de antes, para que se vea la unidad de la comunidad, especialmente como unidad latina. La pregunta que le hago con usted, ¿qué sugerencia o qué usted cree la realidad de tener un momento de silencio? Y yo hablé con la señora Costos, hablé con ella. Es una buena idea, presenta. Son otras palabras de otras personas que están interesadas de hacer algo de acción. Hoy en silencio, una arte, lo que hay que llamarlo, por tal tener una representación en Puerto Rico throughout los estados y también su liderazgo también en qué podemos hacer, una sugerencia, un comentario sobre esto. ¿Es realidad lo que estoy presentando o mencionando? ¿Qué usted cree? Especialmente el señor Rafael, ¿qué usted cree?
Take the question, we need to move
No
on
mucho
to
tiempo,
the
disculpe.
lunch.
Sure. Sure. So, really quickly, we encourage people as their individual contingents to participate in the parade, and like as a contingent, you have the creativity to do whatever you want in the parade, and we really don't hinder that creativity. All we ask is that people celebrate the culture, history, and contributions of Puerto Rican people in some way. That's what each of the contingents should represent. So the ideas you have are great, and you should incorporate that, and I encourage you to incorporate that into your individual contingent. Next question.
I come up with the question, how much benchmarking are you guys doing within yourselves and with other organizations? That's one. Two, nothing replaces sponsorship by creating networking. Manufacturing distribution sites, and I'm picking manufacturing distribution sites in each of your cities is at least $5,000 you can get. Example, quiero felicitar a Maria. Tu pueblo, Colorado, was the first one to do a street parranda in front of Walgreens. Walgreens gives money. Staples gives money. Baxter, Abbott, Pfizer. So you have all these manufacturing sites, distribution sites. Are you reaching out to them? So first question, benchmarking within yourselves and other organizations. And two, sponsorship and who you're reaching out to.
For us, this is probably this is probably a good time to take the time to look at what other organizations are doing, and we have talked not just Puerto Rican parades and festivals, because there are other festivals like the ones I mentioned earlier, and see, can we all, leaders of these parades and committees, come together and see what we're doing that we could do better based on what you're doing. So this is the first time we're doing that, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Hello, I just want to, first of all, thank you guys for the marvelous panel. You guys doing great work, and to, expose our culture throughout the different really important cities and states throughout our country is really important. My question is basically changing demographics. Ululy spoke about changing demographics, and you also spoke about the lack of our children knowing our culture. I remember, my parents, I was born and raised in New York. My parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, but the best thing that arose out of the divorce was that my father moved back to Puerto Rico, and I got to visit in Puerto Rico. I remember the first day I got off the plane, I was about 9 years old. I got to Puerto Rico, I smelled the azucenas, the flowers. I fell in love with the island. So in terms of culture and teaching our children, I always taught my children the culture of our island, although they were born and raised here. Most of our children are working class people, so they can't afford to go to the island. So what can we do as leaders in the community and cultural community, bring our children back to the island, have them know the culture? Because as I'm an attorney in New York, Ululy and I work together in a lot of ways. As an attorney, I represent my daughter. She's an entrepreneur, going to different corporations. And one thing these big CEOs want to know is about the culture of Puerto Rico. So there's three elements that we tell them that really they latch on to. The first thing is Puerto Rico is the gateway to Christianity in this hemisphere. The Spaniards brought Christianity to Puerto Rico, and that blossomed throughout all of Latin America before any other part of this hemisphere. Second of all, Puerto Rican men and women have fought in every single war this country has been involved in, starting from the Revolutionary War of this country. They don't know that. They don't know that. Once we tell them those facts, they sit up. They say, my God, is that for real? And thirdly, the first educational system in this hemisphere, in the American continent, was from Puerto Rico. The Bishop of Puerto Rico, from Spain, Monzó, went to Puerto Rico, established a school, La Escuela Gramática, in San Juan. That was the first learning institution in the Americas. So those three facts, the fact that Puerto Rico was the blossom Christianity, and also Judaism and Islam, these corporate sponsors, they love to hear those facts. So as leaders in the community, I want to congratulate you. And how can we, as a community, bring these facts together, coalesce, and go to these corporations and teach them who we are and why we're so important in this culture?
Yeah, look, you raise a great point, and we do this through our scholarship program, where we make sure that we educate the scholars about the history and our culture. But, as Osvaldo mentioned, that it really, we really would like, and it's aspirational for us, because it's only been 3 years now. We've raised now $100,000 a year now we're raising for scholarships, but our students have some immediately pressing needs, and that's that couple $1,000s for their scholarship to go to school. It goes a long way for our students. Many of them come from low-income communities. So our immediate focus is there, and also teaching them about their culture. But aspirationally, we definitely want to create a situation where we be able to bring these scholars, these young scholars, to Puerto Rico, so that they can visualize the stuff that we're teaching them in these seminars.
our case, we have an art center, and so we do programming for kids, but also the art center, because it's the only Latino, Puerto Rican go beyond everything with the same language. So we support other organizations, like we do the Three Kings with the Puerto Rican Coalition, with Latina Mom is being organized, with all different moms. They did a parandas, so we try to offer the theater space and the gallery and our plaza to support, because we are a small organization. We need to partner with others, so they don't have the space, but at least we can partner with them, offer them the space, and they're doing the cultural work. So basically, I would try to really organizing and supporting them how to organize and use the space, focusing children, because I totally agree, is a very a big responsibility and for leadership development too.
Next question.
Hi, it's not so much a question, but thank you all. My name is Melissa La Santa Edwards, and I'm the newly appointed president for the New York State Professional Employees Federation, and we are a union of 54,000 employees statewide. But I have to say that for the first time, we were able to participate in the parade this year, and it was awesome. And in the interim of that, we were able to even promote, people really enjoyed our float and came and got information and have even been able to pursue civil service. So a lot of our employees are through, being appointed through civil service statewide. So we want to continue that. And so my hope is in coming around and finding out more information to continue, on this journey.
Yeah, no, I remember PEF coming into the parade, and what I liked about PEF is that they really got cultural and they focused on visually what's gonna look great in the parade, and they got a lot of attention for a group that was in the parade for the first time. They focused on culture and celebrating our culture, and their float and their contingent and the people they had in their contingent really reflected our culture. So, I mean, thank you for coming and participating and being presente.
Yes, so we're going to be up front this next year. So, but it was everyone that came in, it was just so wonderful. So thank you. Thank you again. So we'll see you next year.
All right. Next question.
Basically, it's not a question, but I'm just going to say it in Spanish because it has a meaning what I'm going to say. Mi nombre es José Morales, represento la compañía de Ritmo Music, en la cual hemos trabajado con diferentes artistas grandes en el mundo, y especialmente la cultura puertorriqueña a través de lo que se llama la bomba y la plena y los trovadores. La meta de nosotros es poner el granito de arena, porque nosotros sabemos que el lenguaje es la cultura. Nunca se le olvide de que el lenguaje es la cultura. Yo soy bilingüe, yo he trabajado con muchas agencias. Fui el primer persona en el estado de Connecticut para correr para el republicano para ser alcalde. La razón que me lo dieron era porque yo era bilingüe. Los trabajos, la educación, la política, no se los puede olvidar eso. De verdad, me siento, el corazón se me quiere salir del pecho, verlos a ustedes. Y he trabajado en la parada puertorriqueña el tiempo que vengo aquí con Telemundo, Univisión y diferentes de eso. Lo que he tratado de hacer es implementar la cultura de Puerto Rico a través, usando las flotas, para que esta gente que están introduciendo nuestra cultura a través de la música, podemos llegar bien lejos. De verdad, de corazón, es un amor estar aquí y cuenten conmigo con lo que sea. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a usted. Another question.
Sí, buenos días. My name is Daniel Lin. I came from Puerto Rico to this conference. I work at the University of Puerto Rico. I was very interested that Hunter College was organizing these around parades and festivals, because as you know, we do a lot of festivals down there, right? But I'm a professor at the Faculty of Business Administration, and I have a working lab with the students. And listening to you and what you're talking, I was interested in terms of the sustainability bit vis-a-vis commercialization. For us, commercialization is the wrong word, right? Something we don't want. We don't want to say something that Medalla controls, that Henneken controls, but it does happen. So we have evolved to have a lot of festivals currently, like La Fiesta de la Calle Loíza, La Fiesta de Surfest, for example, that have managed to create things without the sponsorship. So commercialization is moved away and we have other things. Something you were saying is a new development in terms of La Fiesta de San Sebastián, the regional ones, where you try to promote that you eliminate los kioscos so the local business participate thoroughly. The kioscos is a bit of corruption, is patronazgo, etc. So I want to know that debate because I think it came clear with your presentation. The other things, talking from the previous conversation panel, you know, there are so many things that we can do quite interesting, like for example, exchange of students for internship programs across the two cities, right? Secondly, do labs with us, right? To come here and do some kind of, we are organizing business as our task in our faculty. So let's explore what we can do, and I congratulate what you've been doing throughout. I know some people like the Colorado, because on another hat, I have a internet publication and we have a sponsor what happened in Colorado. But having said that, I think you know, when you come from Puerto Rico and you look at these, I think we're talking about like the concept of la mutual, una mutual, que representa los intereses de una identidad nacional and promote kind of bondship or solidarity for people to survive. I found very interesting that Puerto Ricans coming from the island look immediately to the cultural expression for support. So there are many things that we can explore, do research, do collaboration, but I have a student that would love to come here for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or a month to do some internship and assist. My student organize business as their task, and they would like to come. So,
Professor, you mentioned quite a bit of stuff, and they told me that we have lunch on the first floor, and I'm out of business. But you know, I'm going to make a commitment to you to speak to you directly offline and talk about how we can really start this dialogue, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for, right? Start this dialogue so we can collaborate and share best practices. So I want to thank everybody for coming today. I want to thank our panelists, and have a good day.